So what's actually the difference between Masters and Grandmaster Mercy players? Well, the answer is simple. It's a better duo. Hey guys, it's Adriatic, and today I'm going to go over what the big differences are between Masters and Grandmaster Mercy players, as well as give some insights on how to help you lower ranked Mercies climb. This means I will also be talking about ranks other than just Masters as well, including ranks like Diamond and Platinum. Now, there is some truth to the little joke that I did as the intro, and having a duo in any scenario is always helpful, especially for a hero like Mercy. But for the purposes of this guide, I will be discussing solo queue, as I myself am primarily a solo queue player. For those of you that don't know me and want to know why I would be qualified to talk on this subject, hi, my name's Adriatic. I'm a top 500/Grandmaster tier support player, and I have most of my time spent on Mercy. I have multiple accounts in GM and hit GM originally back in Season 10. I play primarily on Xbox, however I do play both PC and Xbox. Fortunately for the purposes of this video, information I'll be talking about isn't exclusive to any platform, so I won't need to note any differences. With that out of the way though, let's get right into it. Now, there's plenty of Mercy players out there who consider themselves hard stuck, or they just really struggle to climb. There's even many Mercy players that have hit Grandmaster but struggle to get past a low 4K range and really settle themselves into GM. They just have loss streak after loss streak, falling back and forth between Masters and low GM. But what's really holding them back, or any Mercy player for that matter? What really sets apart Masters and lower ranked Mercy players from those who are consistently in Grandmaster? I mean, how do you even climb on a hero who's designed around enabling her team and one that has generally pretty low impact? Well, one of the first things has to do with beam management. Since Mercy is an enabler, she has to enable her team, especially with the use of damage boost. Damage boost is one of Mercy's strongest abilities. It's her main tool and what you should be using the most, but damage boost usage is something that 100% scales with the ranks. After all, what's the point of using damage boost if your allies aren't hitting their shots? Well, to begin, we need to look at the general mindset around damage boost usage. Many Grandmaster Mercies throw around the fact that you should just hard pocket your DPS with damage boost, which is true, but I think a big difference between Masters and Grandmaster Mercies here is how they interpret the term hard pocketing. I personally like to think of hard pocketing someone as having that person be your default beam target. This doesn't mean you only beam this person, it means that you prioritize them the most. Although your main job is to damage boost your DPS, you also have another support to watch out for. In Masters and Diamond, I think many people think that they have to beam their DPS all game and tend to neglect the other duties they have, such as peeling for their second support, healing their tanks when their other support is dead, or even sometimes entirely neglecting the other DPS. Peeling for your second support is crucial as Mercy, and in most situations takes precedence over just pocketing your DPS. If you're pocketing and your second support is dead, your team essentially has no healers. Peeling is something Grandmaster Mercy players are very good at, and it's something I commonly see that holds back lower ranked Mercies, especially mid to high Master Mercy players that have the mindset that the pocket is just everything. It's okay to leave your DPS so that you can peel for your support, but if you're going to leave your DPS for a second to peel, make sure you communicate that to them. If you're using a mic in game, which I highly suggest you do, communication on Mercy is very important. Just say something like, "Ash, I'm leaving you for a second to peel for Ana, I'll be back in a second." Or you could even call out to the team in general, "Ana needs help, someone help me cover her." That way your team knows your intentions. Now, with that being said, there are absolutely times where you need to stick to pocketing, and you may need to neglect other duties. However, it's up to you to determine when that's appropriate. Although pocketing is ideal, the best Mercies are adaptable. Many Mercy players are also afraid to pocket things that aren't DPS. Damage boost gives your allies 30% more ult charge per shot, meaning that damage boost is a great way to aid your team's ultimate economy. Checking your team's ult percentage and flickering boost on allies who could benefit from some extra ult charge is essential to good Mercy gameplay. This is also great to say if your pocketing a DPS isn't doing much at that moment, or is maybe not an LOS at the enemy at that time. Always prioritize your damage boost on active players. Not everyone is always doing something. Watch your team and damage boost when necessary. This is especially important in solo queue. It's good to pocket who's doing the most. In the lowest ranks, damage boost is heavily neglected by many Mercy players, and there's generally the excuse that their allies are taking too much damage and that they have to play main healer. This is understandable, however, holding heal beam on allies who are full HP or anti-nated provide nothing to the fight. you may as well be sitting in spawn if that's what you're going to be doing. There's plenty of downtime to squeeze in damage boost, especially in Valkyrie since mass damage boost is super strong. It's also good to keep in mind, like I mentioned earlier, that damage boost gives your allies more ult charge per shot, so taking this excuse in lower ranks, where people hit less shots, you may as well be helping them build their ult a little bit faster than they would normally by damage boosting what they do hit. Moving on, another thing that really holds back Mercy players is the use of Resurrect. Resurrect is one of the strongest abilities in the game, however, the potential to throw matches with a bad res is extremely high. If you look at the average reses per 10 in GM amongst Mercy players, you'll notice that it's lower than in other ranks. This has to do with not only the fact that GM players are better at punishing Mercies for bad reses, but also that Mercy players are more careful to use the ability in this rank. It's good to only go for reses you are 100% sure that you can get off. Valk is also great at helping you get off reses, just think before you go for a res. If you're going to go for a res, ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. Can my team afford being without my resources for at least 1.75 seconds? You need to ask yourself this because what's the point of bringing back someone if you're just letting someone else die for it? Unless they have a big fight-changing ultimate or are generally a better player to bring back, is your team able to fight 4v6 as you bring someone back? This is especially important to consider if you're bringing back your second support. 2. Will I be able to get off this res and stay alive after the fact? You need to make sure that the position the res is in is even possible and if it's safe. There's plenty of ways to get off cheeky reses with super jump, Valkyrie, walls, and other forms of LOS. However, how out of position is the res that you're considering? Even if you get it off, what if you just die immediately after? What's the point then? Like before, unless they have a big game-changing ultimate in overtime, there's not many situations where you want to trade your life for a res. 3. Will my ally just die immediately after this res? What's the point of resurrecting someone if they die immediately after? Obviously you can't predict this in some scenarios such as Widow 1v1s, but resurrecting someone in a super risky position where they just die immediately, again, is extremely harmful. It essentially forces your ally to go through a respawn timer twice. This is really bad, especially in overtime when respawn times are longer. All you need to do is think before you go for a resurrect, and that's instantly a way to improve your gameplay. Everyone makes mistakes and everybody has bad resurrects, even the best Mercy players out there. You can't predict every outcome in a split second, but thinking before you go for that res and making less mistakes will drastically increase your impact as Mercy, especially considering how strong Resurrect is. Speaking of impact, let's talk about it. How do Grandmaster Mercy players climb out of low ranks and maintain GM playing a hero with low impact? Well, they make the hero impactful. The pistol is a great cleanup tool, especially in Valkyrie, and what's more impactful than getting a pick? Just ask a Widow player how impactful that is. Now, I'm not telling you to go battle Mercy your whole Valks. That's usually an easy way to throw your games considering you're completely neglecting your team for 15 seconds. Even with unlimited ammo and a really annoying hitbox, you don't have that much damage and you're not going to likely solo kill the entire team. But looking for weak, discorded, and out of position enemies can make easy picks. Managing your aggression with the pistol is definitely something that I see really holds back certain Mercies in their rank. Some people aren't aggressive at all with it and they don't have that impact in game, while others use it way too much and they play too aggressively, not knowing when to tone it down. While the best Mercy players are able to use their aggression for impact when it's necessary and also tone it back when they know it's not right to be using it. Additionally, activating Valkyrie makes it so that Mercy can see enemy health bars. This is not only great for just shot calling who to your team should focus, but it's great for getting picks on enemies who your team may have no way to reach. This is especially great versus enemy supports. By using the better angle Valkyrie gives you as well as knowledge on the enemy's HP, you can easily pick off weak enemies to swing a teamfight in the right direction. Many Mercy players already do it, and that's great. Just make sure not to tunnel vision especially. My general rule is that if I miss the first 3 shots, or I can't confirm a kill in a couple seconds, I abandon it and go back to what I was doing. Maybe I can come back later if the opportunity arises again. Tunnel visioning and wasting your time takes you out of the fight essentially and starves your team of your resources, and this is a common mistake lower ranked Mercy players make. Now, the pistol is increasingly stronger in high ranks where picks make more of a difference. However, more aggressive plays with the pistol work better in lower ranks as enemies are generally out of position more often, making for easier picks. If things aren't going well and your team can afford it, why not just do the DPS's job yourself, especially if you can get an angle that they can't. Just don't tunnel vision, and next time you go for a pistol play, consider my 3-shot rule I mentioned earlier. You can also have some impact by body blocking, as this can save certain allies, especially if they won't be a viable res target after they die. Saving them here when healing may not be enough is always useful. Just be mindful of your positioning and what you specifically are trying to body block, as you don't want to trade your life for this. On the topic of positioning, I want to quickly mention the general positioning and movement of Mercy players in Grandmaster versus lower ranks. Movement is a huge part of Mercy, and mastering it is an essential part of climbing and mastering this hero. However, just because you have good movement doesn't mean you should be putting yourself in areas where you need to use it. Lower ranked Mercy players tend to play in positions in areas that just aren't good. I mean, they're usually just like really awful spots that you never want to be in, especially from Bronze to Platinum. Diamond and Master Mercies, however, tend to think their mobility is everything, and they may have insane movement, but they constantly are throwing themselves in the way of danger with it, which holds them back. While a consistent Grandmaster Mercy player has mastered the art of positioning as well as using Guardian Angel when it is necessary. Ideally, you should never be in the enemy's LOS, but I won't talk a lot about positioning here. If you want more information about positioning specifically, I have a full guide here on my channel related to it, which you can watch. I'll put a link in the description as well as my Guardian Angel tech guide, so if you're interested in mastering Mercy's movement, go ahead and check those out. Now, the use of mobility and good positioning means that, as Mercy, you should not be dying very often at all. Ideally, you should really only die at the end of lost teamfights. Never let yourself be picked off first, as picked off Mercy almost always means a lost teamfight. This means you should play selfishly and value your life over others. Don't go out of your way and try to save someone who is way out of position. A 5v6 missing a DPS can be winnable. A 4v6 missing both the DPS and Mercy is usually not able to be turned around. Deaths are a huge part of Mercy gameplay, and reducing them is the best way to increase your overall impact on a fight. After all, you can't do anything if you're just sitting in spawn. You have the ability to resurrect people, and no one else on your team can do that. If you need to let someone die and res them later because that's a safer play to do that, just make sure you communicate that to your ally if that's something you're choosing to do. For example, just say, "Hey, I can't get to you right now, sorry, I'll res you in a little bit if it's safe." In addition to that, staying alive itself is impactful, and this is of course where good mobility comes in. Stalling points when necessary is an obvious example, as Mercy is very good at this, especially on King of the Hill and 2 CP points. If you're getting hard focused by a DPS but avoiding them and wasting their time, you're essentially creating a 6v5 for your team. Mercy can do her job while moving. Most enemies cannot do this. An enemy wasting their time and resources on a Mercy is providing nothing to that fight and can help give your team an advantage. You can even lure tunnel visioning enemies into the team so that they can punish them. This doesn't happen very often in higher ranks, as many people don't even bother focusing or wasting time on good Mercies in high ranks. However, tunnel vision is a huge problem in low to mid ranks, so you can use this to your advantage to help you climb. And finally, the last thing that can help you climb isn't even something different between Grandmaster and other ranks, it's just a general rule of thumb I like to follow. And that's just to have fun. Don't tilt queue. Everyone has loss streaks, and that's okay, but don't dwell on the losses, and remember that you perform better when you're having fun. Don't blame your team on everything, and look back at your own mistakes too. Toxic mindsets are what hold people back. If you are losing a lot, just take a break. Remember that it's a video game and it's not the end of the world. Come back to it later with a new mindset, and just remember that climbing takes time and improvement won't be overnight. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but also swap heroes if you need to. It's good to have a diverse hero pool, but you can still default to whoever you're best at. For example, I'm definitely a Mercy main, and she's my best hero for sure, but I also play Ana and Zenyatta at a Grandmaster level, and I'm willing to flex to them if need be. I can also play Moira, but like, who can't play that hero? And if I'm not comfortable on a hero, I communicate that to my team. I can play Brigitte, Baptiste, and Lucio well, for example, but they're not my best, and I'm much more comfortable on Ana, Mercy, and Zenyatta. I'll often tell my team this if we're coming up with a change in team composition mid-game. I'll be like, hey, I'm most comfortable on these 3 heroes, but I can play the others too. And it's also good to see what your other support is comfortable with, so you can both play heroes you're good at. And now, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I specifically set this guide up in a way so that I didn't exclusively talk about just what separates Grandmaster Mercy players from the lower ranks, but I also made sure I added plenty of advice throughout with examples so that you can improve. Now remember, I have provided you the information and resources through this video, but it is your responsibility to make changes where you see fit in your gameplay. Content creators like myself can't be there holding your hand in-game telling you exactly what you need to do. You need to look at your own gameplay and use the information to help you adapt to your playstyle. Self-VOD reviews through the replay system are a good idea, and even sharing them with friends is a good way to spot mistakes you may not have noticed in-game. And that's all from me for today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them if I see them. Thanks for watching, hope this helps, and have a great day.